Today is February 17th, 2012, and I am coming to you with a heavier heart than usual because we lost someone that I really admired. I never met her, but I found her to be an inspiration, and I still do in so many ways. And I think it's important to focus on the good things, and that's Ms. Whitney Houston. She's gone from this realm, but I don't think that people are completely gone when they leave the earthly realm. But that's a personal belief. Anyway, there are basically three reasons I'm doing this video right now. Please bear with me if I kind of stumble because I'm distracted by the sadness and the hour. It's like you might hear my rooster start to crow because it's about close to 5 o'clock in the morning, I believe now. And I have a request, so I guess I'll end there, and I want to address two things that have really bothered me. But first, I should let you know that I'm not qualified to talk with you as a reporter or a journalist on this matter because I don't know the details. I don't know the facts. I haven't done the homework as far as what was the cause of death and so forth exactly. Was anyone else there? Possibly. Was anything deliberate about it? I have no idea. Was there, there's lots of, endless speculation, basically, when somebody dies before their time and you don't know why. And maybe you all actually do know why by now, I don't know, but I don't think so, just because I heard some things anyway through networking, social networking, but I have specifically made the point not to be reading the news reports and stuff like that. And that's because from very early on, even actually before Saturday, going back at least say a week or two or so before, there was a really vicious propaganda. For lack of a better term, I don't understand what people were trying to accomplish as far as mass media outlets in this regard, but just to go after somebody for something that when they have not made it their agenda to go and hurt anybody else, at least, hurt anybody outside of themselves. They've not made an agenda out of that. And I don't know why there would be like an orchestrated thing to try to undermine the reputation of that person. But in any case, the two things I've heard most that bother me are, one, people saying, why should we care? We didn't know her personally. Most likely, obviously somebody did. That's something to remember. That's a reason right there. Compassion for people who remain, who are grieving. But why should we care? And maybe they're even upset because they think that we care more than about somebody on the other side of the world that we don't know their name or something like that. And at least for me, that's not the case. It's not that I care more. It's not that I'm more sad, but it's that this is somebody whose name we knew. This is somebody from our part of the world. This is somebody who reached out deliberately in a nice, good way and touched us. And she dedicated her livelihood to that. And I'm not saying she starved, to do it or so, but I don't see why somebody should. I think that's propaganda too. She was a very strong, talented, beautiful, and well-connected woman. When she was coming up, she already had relatives that had succeeded ahead of her in things, and she could have really done, I think, anything she wanted. You know, we're here. There are a lot of issues. You know, there are a lot of issues as far as corruption and what have you, like any number of other places. But there's less tolerance in our society for certain types of inequalities in practice, you know, like in the workplace and so forth. And I think that somebody who had all of the capabilities that she did could have really done anything she set her mind to. And she decided not to go and do something where she would be, you know, profiting at somebody else's expense or what have you. No, she chose to dedicate herself to helping to uplift people and to work at the gifts that God gave her to, I mean, I think she was naturally gifted, but to work to appreciate those gifts and to hone those gifts and to be able to help bring people together and touch their spirits with hers and so forth. And I think that is something to appreciate. And I also think that people don't realize how hard it is. And I also think that she did early on. She knew that there was going to be a big price to pay, even just in life, including the kind of attacks, you know, on her reputation and so forth that I mentioned. I mean, to get up in front of people publicly, a lot of people are going to have a lot of bad things to say about you, like no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. It's just, it's naive to think otherwise. And she wasn't someone who did not know that that was in store. And she chose to go forward anyway. And I think that's to be admired too. I also think people don't realize how not easy things are, basically, that they're not directly familiar with. Traditionally, here, if somebody stays at home with kids, it's the wife, you know, and mom. And if somebody goes over into the workplace, it's the husband and father. And many times, sadly, they don't seem to realize or appreciate how hard it is to fulfill the other role unless they literally, you know, trade places for even a week. That seems to straighten them out from when I watch those progress reports on TV. You know, they do some kind of role switch. So I think that basically has to go with the saying about not judging someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. And I also believe that we're all related. Whether I think in terms of my understanding of the scientific angle, like evolution, or I think in terms of a spiritual angle, like creationism, to me it comes back to we actually are all family. I don't think we should have to be for people to still have compassion for the immediate family of an individual and so forth. But, you know, for people who just don't understand why we would care about somebody that we might not have met, it's still a member of our family, you know? And they don't have to be famous. They don't have to be rich. They don't have to be older. They don't have to be younger. But if they're a person in our human family and they unexpectedly get taken away from us under tragic circumstances, that's something to be sad about. If it's one at a time, or if it's 1,000 at a time in an explosion or a war zone or something, it's something to be extremely sad about. The other thing is, I've heard a lot of people, I just heard about this very recently. I've learned that Jesus Loves Me, This I Know might be the last song that Miss Houston was working on performing publicly or had actually performed publicly. And so I stopped and I thought, oh gosh, because I'd started working on this video that I'm hoping to finish for Saturday, and I thought, the roosters are waking up now. I thought, well, I wonder if I should still proceed with this. But I decided to do so because, one, it's relatively familiar. Two, it's in the public domain, so there would not be a delay to try to get permission for a copyrighted song. Things like Christmas carols, hymns, and stuff, they're more likely to be in the public domain than a song you hear on the popular radio. And I thought, it might help to uplift people, whether they're Christian or not, and so forth. So this leads to my second thing that I've heard that I don't like. People criticizing for a deterioration of the quality of vocal cords. To me, it's not a legitimate ground for criticizing anybody, because age could have something to do with that. In the 40s, I doubt it, but as people get older, eventually that could be a factor. Health has a lot to do with that, and no matter what the cause, because generally if somebody has bad health, you don't have to look too hard or too far or anything to find that a lot of times it has to do with something that the person may have done or may have failed to do that contributed to deteriorating health. But it's not something to be nasty about and critical about of the person. It's an unfortunate thing, and eventually, one way or the other, we're going to end up in the same situation of expiring from this life. And so I'll just move on now to the request, which is for if you can contribute, and I'm sorry for the short notice, but by the end of this morning, Pacific Standard Time, February 17th, we're on Friday now, if you could contribute 16 seconds evenly paced, so that's 4 seconds per line, 4 lines each, of the refrain for Jesus Loves Me, This I Know, I will try to include it when I'm putting things together through the rest of the day, to hopefully be done in time for tomorrow sometime to post. It will probably go to my other channel, because it probably will not have any, I'm not planning any documentary content in that video, just to focus around the hymn and beautiful memories and sharing and uplifting, hopefully mostly uplifting and tribute. So the refrain goes, I think it's easier for me to do it if I do like the last verse, maybe just the last verse first. Jesus loves me, He will stay close beside me all the way. Thou hast bled and died for me, I will henceforth live for thee. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. I think, just from my internal clock, that may have been a little slower than 4 seconds per line. I think it was evenly paced, but a little slower than 4 seconds per line. So what I do is, when I'm not, like here, when I have a stopwatch or even the computer clock in front of me that tells you the seconds, I can use that and just check that you're going 4 seconds per line. And don't add an extra 4 in the last line, not for the Bible tells me so, but just the Bible tells me so. I have the details written at the link provided. So if you can,